Now with Jeffrey Berman, he was the U.S. Attorney for New York's Southern District, fired by President Trump in June 2020 after refusing to resign. And he's out with a new book, Holding the Line, about his tumultuous, in many ways unprecedented tenure. This is his first interview. Thank you for joining us.
Oh, thank you for having me.
I read the book over the weekend. It's pretty stunning stuff. You paint a picture of President Trump and his allies pressuring you to protect his friends and prosecute his enemies. Had you ever seen anything like that before? How did it play out?
I had never seen anything like that before, and I was a junior prosecutor in the Southern District in the early 90s, and never seen anything like that. People who had been in the office for 40 years never saw anything like that. It was unprecedented and scary.
Let's talk about some of the specifics. So you talk about an effort by the president's allies in the Justice Department to get you to indict Greg Craig, who was a Democrat who had worked for President Obama. Talk about what happened.
We were investigating Greg Craig and were pushed by the Justice Department to indict Greg Craig, a Democrat, before the midterm elections. The Justice Department told us, hey, you had just indicted two allies of the president, Chris Collins, who's a Republican congressman from upstate New York, and Michael Cohen, who's the president's lawyer and fixer. And it's time for you guys to even things out and indict a Democrat before the midterm election.
You talk about a Justice Department official, Edward O'Callaghan. He says this is categorically false.
Well, it absolutely happened. My deputy was on the phone with him when he was told we've got to even things out. He immediately came into my office, told me about the conversation. My jaw dropped, and I immediately grabbed my deputy, Audrey Strauss, brought her into the room. My deputy repeated the conversation, and she nearly hit the ceiling. It was something we'd never heard or seen before.
You refused to indict him, but Greg Craig was indicted. They went to the Washington District U.S. Attorney's Office. Eventually, he came to trial and was acquitted, I think, within 5 hours. Yeah. Vindication?
It was vindication, but the case should never have been brought. I was on the phone with the U.S. Attorney from the District of Columbia trying to convince her not to indict Greg Craig. The case was too weak to be brought. It was inappropriate to be brought, and that's what the trial showed.